Okay. So Daf Chaf Hey Amudis. Okay, the Pelek started off with saying the certain halachas where a kolban kodesh has stricter halachas than tuma, and the Mishnah said 11 things. Different things where kodesh, a kolban, has a stricter halacha than tuma, but tuma tahada, etc., etc. Then on Daf Chavdal Amud Beis, it flipped the tables. Now we're talking about where is Teruma stricter than Kodesh. And basically we're saying in the sense that by Kodesh we trust in Ama'ad at certain times or certain things. And by Teruma we don't trust. And we went through this whole thing. Why we trust Ama'ad at certain times and why not. And we had to think about the Eva, about the jealousy, etc. The Mishnah on the Chavdal base continues and gives us another few. In the next few Mishnahs, they're going to give us another few halachas where Teruma is stricter than Kodesh. The halachas regarding Teruma are going to be stricter than halachas in Kodesh. So, the Shalayim is at the center of Eretz Yisrael. And if you go a little bit west and a little bit up north, so between the Shalayim and the airport, there is a place, an area called Modi'in. And Modi'in is actually where the Chashmonaim are coming from. It's an area right outside the Shalayim, really not far from the Shalayim. So there was a halacha back in the day, as we'll see much later in the Gemara, a little bit later in the Gemara, halacha back in the day, that in the Shalayim itself, you cannot have any kilns to make earthenware, to make vessels out of, or because they needed a kiln and a smoke. Different reasons why they couldn't do it. Others say because the smoke would the soot that comes out from the smoke would blacken the Choymes of Shalayim, would blacken the walls of Shalayim, with the wall of the Beis Hamikdash. Others say that they didn't want to mix up that smoke with the Ananak Toiles, with the Ananak Kabanis, with the smoke that comes out from the Kabanis. In any case,
what about that it looked like a sacrifice?
What?
What about that it looked like a sacrifice?
No. It's just maybe that the smoke looked like a sacrifice. That could be the reason. But basically, they weren't allowed to have these kilns in the Shalayim. So now you have a problem. You come to the Shalayim with a kolban, you have to use some vessels to bring the kolban in, or to then receive the kolban. You have to come with some vessels. Then maybe if you eat the kolban, you have to put the kolban after you cook it, or whatever, in a certain vessel. The vessel has to be holy. Has to be a Kli Kodesh. So you're going to start schlepping vessels with you from whatever you're coming from Yericho or from wherever you're coming from Eretz Yisrael. So what they had merchants, they had pottery merchants, and they would sell these vessels. So they would sell these vessels in Yerushalayim, and the Chacham added that they can sell the vessels also out of Yerushalayim. Now the people that sold the vessels most of the times were considered Amoratzim. They're considered people that did not know the halachas of Tumat Ta'ana. But the Chacham said that in the Yerushalayim itself, we trust the Amaratz that he would sell only pure vessels for the people that come to Kabbanis, because he knows that he needed these vessels for Kabbanis. So the Chacham said in the Yerushalayim itself, these people can sell large earthen vessels and small earthen vessels. Outside the Yerushalayim, they can outside the Yerushalayim they can also sell vessels, but there's a limit until where. So until this is Yerushalayim, this is the way till Moedin. Moedin itself is a question, but the area between Moedin and Yerushalayim, in this area, the Chacham said that the Namaretz is allowed to sell his earthen vessels for use in the Beis Hamikdash. Now they weren't allowed to sell large vessels. Large vessels you bought in Yerushalayim. Small vessels you were allowed to sell there and buy there, as we'll see in the Gemara discusses everything. So Daf Chafei Amud Beis on the bottom in the Mishnah, Moedim velifnim, sagt die Mishnah, Min Moedim velifnim, from the city Moedim inwards to Yerushalayim, Nemanim al Klicheres, their Amoratzim are trusted that the Klicheres, the earthen vessels that they are selling, are taught Min Moedim velachutz, but from outside Moedim, there in Modim. What about Medin itself, the city Medin itself? we're going to see in a moment what exactly happens with Modim itself. But outside from the city borders until Yerushalayim, including Yerushalayim, we trust them. Outside Modim and to the rest of Eretz Yisrael, we don't trust them. We don't accept their vessels. Ketzad. Hakadon, so that the guy that does the pottery, Shumoicha Akdedes, he sells the Akdedes. He sells those pots and pans and vessels, utensils. Nichnas lifnim min Amedim. If he goes into the area within Moedin and Yerushalayim, so this area in between Yerushalayim and Modim, and here it has to have three conditions. Hu Akadon, he is the person that actually created the vessels, he made them, he formed them. Vehein Akdedes, and these are his vessels that he just created. Vehein Aloikchin, and the buyers see this person go in, nichnas, going from outside Modin into the area within Modin to Yerushalayim, then we trust him. So basically, the customer needs to see this merchant schlepping his vessels. He needs to know that this merchant is selling his own vessels, not vessels that he bought by someone else, but the vessels that he made himself. Then we say, we trust this guy, even though it's an Amal, we trust him to say that these vessels are pure and he can use for the Korban. So it has to be his vessel, it has to be that he made them, it's his, he didn't buy it from someone else, and it has to be also that the customer knows that he saw him traveling into the area that is mutar. So, hey, Yotza, but if the guy left Moedin and went outside, even though he came back afterwards, any of them is not trusted. Tana. What about Medin itself? So we said, in the area between Yerushalayim and Medin, he can sell those vessels, even though he usually does not know the Lochas Tumah Tahara. We trust him because his kelim are going to be used for Kabbanas and Mishnah. We trust him because he has, it's explained somewhere that has the Eimas HaKodesh, all of the fear of heaven, that this vessel is going to be used for Kabbanas. He has it upon him, and therefore he will make sure that this vessel was done in Tahara, it was pure and stays pure. So, what about Medina itself? Inside, yes, we said good. What about Medina itself? Medina itself, sometimes we'll consider it as within that border. Sometimes we'll consider it kalachutz, like it's outside. Ketzad. Kado yoitzem v'chave nichnas. If a person sees that a pottery merchant, is coming from the direction of Yerushalayim, so from the direction of the area that we allowed him to sell the vessels, into Medin, and from the other side of the city, a guy that's tired and is going to bring a korban is coming towards Yerushalayim. So they're meeting in Medin. So here, with that meeting in Medin, the Medin itself will be considered kilifnim. Kada Yoitzi comes out of the area from the Yerushalayim, out of this whole area between the Yerushalayim and Medin. V'chav nichnas, and someone comes in from the other side. Kilifnim is considered like inside. Why? Because it's very simple. This pottery guy, if he continues going further out, you cannot buy his vessels anymore. This Talmud Chacham that is bringing a korban, he's continuing the Yerushalayim. Technically, this is the only place that he can meet up with a guy that sells pots and pans that he can buy. If he continues going, it's possible that he won't meet anyone that's selling pots and pans, because this merchant, he knows this merchant, he was traveling. So therefore, in such a case, if they meet up in the city of Medin will be considered as within the borders, and he can sell and buy. He can buy the pots. What if Shneim Nichnosim, both are coming from further away into Medin and now to meet up in Medin? Then it's simple. You're not buying from him. Why not? Because they are the pashtos. The guy that's bringing the korban is going to continue towards Yerushalayim. He's going to eventually end up in this area between Yerushalayim and Medin. The same thing. The pottery guy is also coming from outside, and he's gonna head towards Medin. He's gonna head towards Yerushalayim. So once you reach this area, you'll buy it here. It's not a problem. So therefore, Shneim Nichnosim, both are coming from the outside and both are entering Medin. Or both of them coming away, walking away, kalachutz. If they meet up in Medin, Medin will be considered kalachutz, like it's outside of Medin, and he cannot buy his vessels. Because if they're yotzin, we had a halacha mission says they're yotzin, and if they're nichnasin, if they're heading towards Yerushalayim, wait a few minutes, head within the city limits, within the limits between Yerushalayim and Medin, and buy it there. Amar Abaya brings proof to this. Afanana Matanina, we learned in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, Hakadosh Shemachas Hagdedos. Says two interesting things, two opposite things. A pottery guy that sells his pottery, v'nichnas lefnim min habedin, and he walks into the area between he walks into Medin. Over there it says, the Mishnah says that it's good, but if it says, and then the Mishnah says, but if it goes out, it's not good. So the Gemara learns like this. Taima, why it's good? Lifnim and Amidin, because it's inside. Hamedim Gufa, Bad Medin itself, like Meheman, we see here Medin is not trusted. Ema Seifa, look in the Seifa, Yotza, if he goes out of Medin, Eina Neman, Hamedim Gufa Neman. In our Mishnah, that brings the example of the Kadon, he brings two opposite things. We see the Kadon going he's going into the area between Shalim and Medin, and we say he's trusted. So we say only here is trusted, Medin is not trusted. If you look later in the Mishnah, the Kada goes out of the area, we say he's not trusted. But which means basically the Medin is trusted. So we see Medin itself in the Mishnah, it's not clear, is he trusted or not? What do we have to say? That sometimes he's trusted, sometimes he's not. And like we explained now, how Medin Gufa lemheman evasev yotzav ein neman, how Medin Gufa neman. And lav shmamina, what is the Mishnah talking about? Kam bekada yoytze v'chava nichnas. The first part is talking about the kada, the pottery guy is coming out of the area between Shalim and Medin, and therefore he is trusted. And the chava, the nichnas, the chava goes into Medin from outside, and they meet up in Medin, and therefore in that case we trust the pottery guy, and we can buy the items from him. And in the second part of the Mishnah, that he cannot buy, we're talking about that they meet up in Medin, but both are headed either way, and therefore we say that he cannot buy the pottery. So basically, Shema Mina, it's proof from the Mishnah that this is what the Gemara was saying. You could see actually within the Mishnah.
The bottom line is Min HaMedin. It's not just a blanket statement that Medin itself is good.
Medin itself is good. It's not like a statement. No,
it has to be if the Talmud Chacham is coming
this
in,
way and the other guys
is going that way.
Yeah, then they meet up in Medin. This is the only place that he would be able to buy the pottery. So therefore, he's allowed to buy it there. The area between Medin and Shalim, you can only buy, the Gemara is going to say, you can buy small, inside the Blais is going to say only small vessels. In the Shalim Gufa, you can buy big vessels and small vessels from an Amad. Says the Gemara, Tana. Here, the Gemara is going to bring some Blaisa. He brings a limitation to what the Mishnah. Now, Mishnah, it says that between the Shalim and Medin, he can sell everything. The Blaisa is going to add a limitation. Nemani biklicheres hadakin. The Nemani biklicheres hadakin. They are trusted, and they can be trusted that the earthen vessel that they're selling, that are the pure, is only by klicheres hadakin, the small vessels, la kodesh, and only if it's being sold for a korban, but not for Tluma. Omar Shlakish, how big, how small? He has to be able to pick it up with one hand. Meaning anything that he needs two hands to lift is considered a large vessel. According to the Shlakish. And that he cannot sell in the area between Medin and Yerushalayim. In Yerushalayim itself, yes, you can sell it. But in Medin and Yerushalayim not. Why did I make this limitation? It's very simple. A heavy, big duty, heavy barrel or big vessel, for him to schlep it from this area is not an issue. It's heavy. You're going to start schlepping kabbanis and everything from this area. Again, why did they make this limitation that large vessels you can only buy in the Shalim and smaller vessels you can't? Because in the Shalim itself you cannot create any vessels. They wanted. I actually, you know what? I'm going to take this back. I have to. What's it called? I think they say that they wanted to make it easier for people going up to Yerushalayim. The whole idea was to make it easier for people going up to Yerushalayim. If you allow them these large vessels over here, you're going to start schlepping large vessels into Yerushalayim. So that's what they said. In Yerushalayim itself, I allow you to buy large vessels from Ma'amaretz. But in the area of Medin, here you can buy smaller vessels as well, because this you can buy here and then bring it to Yerushalayim. It's not such a big hassle. I saw some. What?
Logically, you would think about it, if you're going somewhere, and you're a wealthy man, you take your horse and your donkey,
and pile everything on.
If you're a not so wealthy man, you take something else. If you're very poor, then you're carrying.
See, so therefore, they did this for the poor guy.
So maybe it's for the poor guy.
Maybe for the poor guy, could be. But in any case, they only allowed this whole entire idea, this entire idea that a ma'aretz is considered tamei, and therefore his vessels that he makes are considered tamei, is all the rabbanon. This is all the rabbanon made up. The chacham make it up, but the chacham decided this prohibition, and they decided that certain areas we're going to take down this prohibition because it's too difficult, or because for whatever reason it's impossible to do that. It could be another reason. I saw another reason that
who schleps the big kalim into Yerushalayim? The merchant themselves.
the merchant themselves, or it could be
It's too much of a tircha. The guy schlepping his animal.
it's a tircha. The also it's
Exactly. Even when you're in Yerushalayim, you need something to carry these things. I mean,
right. So what you start schlepping
the
everyone.
place I think this was a large place. You go up all those stairs and you walk
Yeah,
around the
it's
whole
a-
Zara and whatever.
No,
and
so
it's
they
not
didn't
like
sell
a-
it in the Bazaar,
it's
sell
two
that
football
side.
fields.
Yeah, so they didn't sell it they couldn't sell it. I think in the Beis Hamikdash itself. I don't think it was a market because right outside the Beis Hamikdash they could have had stalls and sell. They wanted to make it easier for them. That's what they did. They want to make it easier. People are not going to schlep their earthen vessels from their home. And in Yerushalayim itself, you cannot create it. So they made this area in between, and you can smell smaller vessels that I guess are being they're not being reused again and again. I can check up that reason exactly again, but I think that's a few things that I saw. Zak di Gemara weiter. So one second. So he says the small vessels. How small? It has to be how what's the largest it can be? If you need to lift it with two hands, it's considered a large vessel. Anything less than that can be sold in this area. Anything larger than that cannot be sold. So Rabbi Yochanan says no. It's basically even a larger vessel. We're not talking about a massive vessel. It doesn't tell you how large it has to be, but it's not talking about a massive vessel. But even a vessel that it has to be lifted with two hands is considered a small vessel, and he can sell it in this area between the Shleim and Medina. Another difference that they had, Oma Shlokish, yeah, 3 lines of the Ve'ama Shlokish, Lashonu el-Konin. When they sell the vessel itself has to be empty. It cannot have any liquid inside. Why? But if there's liquid, you cannot sell it. Why? Because the liquid is tamei, and it would make the earthen vessel tamei as well. And now we have a problem. You cannot use the vessel. So that's what Shlokish says. If it's full of liquid, you cannot sell it. Even if they are full with liquids. Even though his garment, his head covering or something is inside the vessel itself, and his head covering is definitely tamei, if he puts it inside, he can still use the vessel. Why? Rava continued to say, the Rabbi Yochanan says that even though he can sell it with the liquid inside, but the liquid itself is tamei, that mashke is tamei. So very interesting. He goes over to a guy and asks him, "Can he sell? I need a small jug of something." He says, "No problem. I have a jug, but it's full of water. It's full of wine." He says, "No problem. I'll buy it with the wine and I'll pour it out and use it for whatever I need." And we say that the wine is considered tamei, but the jug is tahor. How is that possible? But so it says, "V'alta tamei." Don't they wonder why? How could that be? She'elogin molei mashkin. We had this Gemara a few pages ago. That if there's a house that has 2 floors and a dead body is in the bottom floor and the tumah goes up, but what if the opening between the first and second floor is covered by an earthen vessel? Then we say that tumah doesn't fully go up, so the vessels inside are the mashkin inside. If any liquids inside the second floor are going to be tahor, and the mashkin which are being held in a vessel of wood, the wood itself is going to be tamei, which is a very interesting halacha. The dead body is on the first floor. We say the tumah goes up, but because there's an earthen vessel covering between the first and second floor, we say that the mashke is going to be tahor, because that's what it says in the halacha, that the mashke, which is wichrev, is tahor. But anything else in the room, if there's a wooden spoon, it becomes tamei. So we see, and even more than that, the cup that's holding up the water in the second floor could be. So the water could be tahor, and the actual jug will be tamei. Basically, what he's saying, this is all the inyan of chachamim. The chacham.
Here's the opposite.
What?
Mashkin is
Here's the opposite. Yes, but what he wants to mean the idea that this concept, this idea of a vessel being tahor, tamei, when it comes to Nama'aretz, is the in of Chacham. The Chacham decided this. So therefore, they will decide at certain instances that we're going to take away this prohibition. We can take away this gzeda, this decree that the Nama'aretz is Matama Keil, Matama Ashken. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan says the mashke, they took away this prohibition or this decree to such an extent that it will allow you to buy a jug of oil. The oil you have to spill out because it's tummy, but the jug itself you can use, and the jug is tummy, which is very interesting. But that's what Rabbi Yochanan said. So again, so to summarize this entire Mishnah and Gemara, that from Moedin and inside the Shalaim you can sell small. How small? How big? The Shlakish says you have to be able to hold the lifter with one hand. The Sheikhana says you can even lift it with two hands, and Abechana says it can even be full of liquid, and it's fine. The liquid is not good, and the Shlakish says no, it has to be empty. And the Moedin itself depends. If they're both coming in different directions, they're meeting up Moedin, then Medina will be considered a place they can meet up and buy. If they're both going into Medina, they're both coming out of the Shalaim, they're both leaving Medina, they're both either direction. If two of them are going in either direction from Medina, so Medina itself is not a place that they can buy these kelim. That's the next Mishnah. Hagaboim. Oh, the Gaboim. Says Rashi, what are Gaboim we're talking about? What's the word Gabay? Gabay is goiveya. Someone is goiva. Someone is demanding. So the Gaboim, says Rashi, is a Yisrael, Shen Gaboim lemelech nachid. They are the people that would go get the taxes paid for the king. Ligbois milasoil gulgoliois. They will demand. They would walk around and cash in the head tax, or masin, or regular tax, ranunis and mortgages, etc. They would go around and request the payments.
Makes sense.
So if it's so technically according to Mepharshim, this Gabay is considered the Amoritz. Who would have such a job to go ask Yidden for money? Amoritz. So he's considered the guy that walks between goyim. So he's telling me, what about this guy? What about this guy? So this guy knocks on someone's door and it says you owe the king money, and because the guy is poor, the guy that has to pay money is poor. So he goes and he takes away a vessel. He takes some vessels as a mashkin. Takes as a what's it called? To hold on to, as liability to until he pays back. So now we say if he walks into the house, he's considered Amoritz. He walks into the house, and he chooses a vessel. He wants to take a vessel that's at least worth the money that the guy owes the person he's taking from owes the king. So many times he would have these guys that would go through a bunch of vessels, move them around until he finds something that he likes. Says the Gemara, interesting halacha. If that's the case, then all the vessels in the house should be tummy. Says the Mishnah, Hagaboim shenichnos lezachabayis. These Gaboim, they go inside the house in order to take some kind of vessel as a payment. V'chein Haganovim, the same thing also Ganovim. They went into a house. Ganovim are also considered Amaratz, and they're considered their tummy. And then what happened? Shechziru sakelim. So later on, the Gaboim came and they returned. The owner sees the Gabi walking through the house, or he doesn't see the Gabi walking through the house, and he knows that this guy walked through the house to take away some vessels, and he knows that the Ganef shows up at his door one day and says, I want to make tshuva, I want to return the vessel to you. So now he knows that a Ganef was in his house. The question is, what about the older Kalim in the house? So they're trusted to say, we only touched one vessel, the vessel that I took. So a Ganef is trusted to say that I took the vessels that I'm returning, only those vessels are tamei, but none of the other vessels in the house. The Gaba is also trusted to say that only the vessel that I took to the king for the king is the vessel that I touched, and everything else I didn't touch. That's according to one pshat. There's another pshat to say that the vessel itself that he took, the Gabe can say that he didn't really touch it, he didn't become tummy. The Ganav also says the vessel itself, that's a different pshat, and the Gemara is learned differently. But let's say Pasha pshat is that the Gabai tells him that I didn't touch anything else in the house, only the vessel that I took. He's trusted. And the Ganav, the same thing. Even though you would think a Ganav looks, no, the Ganav says, I only the items that I stole that I'm returning to you right now, only that is tummy, the rest is toil. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Nemanim leibel niganu, they're trusted to say that we didn't touch it. Uben shalayim. Now, this part of the Mishnah really goes back to what we said before. or we said before that they can sell. 1 second. This goes on the Gemara before. Yeah, we said it for Medim, Moedin, Velifnim. They can sell vessels for Kodesh. Moedim velachutz, they can't sell anything. Moedin itself, question. What about the Yerushalayim itself? Says the Mishnah, Yerushalayim itself, ne'emonim ala kodesh, they are trusted in any vessel. If they sell it for the purpose of using it for a korban, even Amaras is trusted that it's not tamid, it's a Torah vessel. Ubeshas regel, but during the Yom Tovim, Shavuos, Sukkot, and Pesach, Afal Tumah, they're also trusted with vessels that they're going to be using for Tumah. Why? Different reasons are being said. One, and the Gemara is going to bring some of the reasons. But the reasons being said that it says chayiv, that the person is chayiv the kaddish atzma and b'shas ha'egel. Every person, every single individual has a chiyuv to purify himself during the Yontif. That's one of the main reasons why we trust Batum also. But the main thing is that the Chacham are the ones that decided that an Hamaretz is Tameh and his Kelim are Tameh. When it comes to Yontif, they took down that prohibition. And we're going to see exactly to what extent did it take it down, or did it stay on a little bit. Zag the Gemara. Very mini. We're going to ask you a clear still. It says somewhere else, Hagaboyin shenichnasu l'techabai. It's the same story. He came to demand a certain payment, so he took a keli. If you walked inside the house, Habayis kule tomeh, the entire house is tomeh. Why? Because Bapashtos, he went around and was looking for something good to take for the king. So in our Mishnah it says that we trust him to say he only touched this. And in this other Mishnah, the Blaise, it says that the entire house is tomeh. How is that possible? Zog the Gemara lekashe. It's not a question. There's another guy that is walking into the house with this gabbai. And therefore, if the guy is there, everything is tameh. Why? We'll see in a moment. In our mission, it says we trust him to say that he only touched the item that he took, is when there's no guy with him. The Tanan. If there's a guy with them, they can say, okay, you know what? We never even entered the house. But they're not trusted to say we entered and we didn't touch. Why? Because of the guy.
Why is the goy considered tummy?
All goyim are considered tummy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All goyim have the tumah, so we don't know what to do. Oh, the tumah is actually not because of the goy touching. The tumah is because of the yid touching everywhere. You'll see in a second.
Rashi says something because he's afraid that the guy is going to rat him out.
Well, 1 second. That's going to be the Gemara. 1 second. The machloikas of what that is. Zog the
I
Gemara.
thought goyim don't have this thing.
Right.
Of,
So 1 second. So it's not the goy itself. It's the yid because of the goy is there, and the Gemara is going to ask why.
Oh, okay.
So that now, if a goy walked into the house with them, they are trusted to say lo nichnastu, we never even walked in. But once they say they admit they walked in, they can't say we didn't touch. The Gemara asks, if there's a guy with them, I have it. What difference does it make? Why is the guy's presence? Why does it make the entire house tummy? So the Machlokes, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Chadam one says, "Emas nochi alein." One of them says that they are fearful of the guy himself. They're worried that the guy is gonna. I don't know. It doesn't say why, but they're worried about the guy himself that the guy is gonna beat them up. He's gonna punish them for not looking for a better vessel. V'chadama emas malchus alein. And then one says that the guy was installed by the king to make sure that the underlings, the gaboyim, are doing the job properly. So they're worried that if they don't take the nicest vessel, they don't look for the best vessel, that the king will punish them. That he will go and rat them out to the king, and the king will punish them. And basically, because of that, they have to look further. They have to look more. Once they look further, look more, they're touching all the kelim. Right. The whole house is tamei. If there's no guy, then there's no problem. What difference does it make if it's the fear of the guy, the fear of the king? Says the Gemara, that's very simple. What if the guy is a nothing? What is a weak person? Is not a chasher person? They're not worried about the guy himself, but they're still worried that little weakling guy can go, go to the king. So, Zag the Gemara. My benai, what difference does it make? What's the reason why they're scared of this guy? If it's a guy that is not, they don't fear him. So there is a guy in the house. Technically, if there's a guy in the house, the Mishnah said it's a problem. But here we say, according to one opinion, even though the guy is in the house, but because they're not scared of him, no problem.
There must be a known one too.
So it has to be. So in order to go according to all opinions, it must be a wealthy guy, a known guy, an important guy that they are scared of the guy himself, and they're scared of the guy ratting out to the king. But if it's a guy that is a nothing, they're not scared of the guy himself, but they're still scared of him being ratted out to the king. So only according to one opinion will there be a problem. Will the entire house be tummy? According to the other opinion, it says it's only about the guy himself. If they're not scared of the guy, even though he will rat them out to the king, that's not what they're not worried about that. Okay.
Not worried
Next.
about being told to the king. I'd be worried.
Zog the Gemara v'Yamini. Another question. Oh, sorry. It says the Ganavim also that returned the vessels that they stole. Again, a question. V'Yamini Haganavim shenichnas l'techabais. The same story. Ganavim walked into a house. Eine tamei ela mekandrisas hagla Ganavim. Wherever the Ganavim walked, if they can see determine where the path is, that entire area is tamei. But everything in the area, even the stuff that it didn't take. We know that a Ganav walked from the entrance to the house to the other side of the house to take this vessel. We'll assume that everything in its path he touched and everything is tummy. Unlike our mission that says only the items that he took. So everything in its path is tummy. We're talking about what kind of Ganavim we're talking about. They're returning the vessel. Why are they returning the vessel? Because they made tshuva, and there's a mitzvah, Heshiv Zakzela, the mitzvah of returning the stuff that they stole. If we're talking about someone that is becoming about tshuva, that has real, shamayim in mind, he wants to do the right thing, we trust him that he's not going to lie. And he's going to tell me exactly which area he touched. So whichever area he says I didn't touch, we trust him. So it could be there are more areas than just a keli, but the idea is, if he says this loy nagano, I didn't touch this, I didn't touch that, because he came in a sincere way, because he's doing tshuva, we trust him. So the Gemara shows the tshuva daika. It's also tshuva. Daika nami, the Ketana, it says shechziu as a kelim. By the Ganef, all of a sudden, it adds the word shechziu, that he returned the kelim. But the Gabe doesn't say return the kelim. But the Ganef says return the kelim. Why? Because we're talking about someone is returning the stuff that is stole. And Rashi adds a small word, and the Mefarshim say, K'sha'asa tshuva says Rashi, umachmas tshuva hazalam. He returned it because of tshuva, not because the policeman told him he has to return it. If he returned it because the court says we have to return it, otherwise, then we don't trust him, because then he's not coming from a tshuva perspective. He's coming because he's scared of something else. Okay, and because he makes tshuva, he's not lying. Okay, the Gemara continues. In Yerushalayim, we trust them to sell any vessel as long as it's being sold for the purpose of a korban, but not tu'ma. Tana, we learned ne'emanim al klicheres gasin lakodesh. We allowed the Amaratzim to even sell large vessels if it's sold for the purpose of the kodesh. Why did I allow Amaratzim to sell vessels, Moedin, smaller, from Moedin in smaller vessels, Shalayim itself, even larger vessels? Because they're not supposed to make any kilns in Yerushalayim because of the fire, because of different things. And therefore, says Rashi, we know how to make any kimshoynes Yerushalayim, says Rashi, loy ladakim loy legasin, for none, not bigger vessels or small vessels. Says here the reason. B'miu bedakim hutzach l'ansh Yerushalayim. He says the reason why outside they trusted even small vessels and inside only large vessels. So it says like this: Bedakim hutzach l'ansh Yerushalayim. the small vessels, they needed, the Anshe Shalaim needed it. Shekol yochid v'yochid niska v'vesoi. Because everyone has their own nesachin, their own things that they would add to the korban, the wine. So they had to have a lot of smaller jugs. So each person needed a lot of small jugs. But the people that are working the lishka and they hand out the wine, so they need the larger vessels in there. They don't need larger vessels outside. Not everyone needed large vessels. So only the people in the lishka. Only there they were trusting them on the chavis. Inami, like I said, the Pashup shot is Yechidin Sichim the Dakim. There are much more smaller vessels needed in the Shalayim than large vessels. Small, anytime you bought a korban, you need to bring something to cook the korban, not to eat it. So Inami, Sichim the Dakim of Lebishla Shlamim Yomi. Every time they bring a korban, Shlomo, whatever type of korban it is, they need to serve this korban in some kind of vessel. So they need a lot of these vessels, and the smaller vessels were pretty much disposable vessels. They didn't keep them saving from time to time, from korban to korban. Okay, says the Gemara weiter. Finishing this Gemara. During Yontev, they trusted the Amaratzim to sell vessels, even if the vessels were used for a lesser kedusha for Truma. Minoah Hanamili, Amar Yeshua ben Levi, Yeshua ben Levi said, Amar Kod, the Pasuk says, V'Yeosev, called Ish Yisrael, all the Eden gathered, El Ho'il, to the city, Ki Ish Echad, like one, Chaverim, they all were considered Talmid Chacham, people that know Tahan. Ason Akosov, Ason Kulan Chaverim. Akosov Ason Kulan Chaverim. The pasuk puts them together. Chaverim. What's shot? This story is the story of Pelegesh Begiva. Yeah, the story.
It's a bad story.
It's a bad story. So the story is that a Pelegesh was basically used by the whole Shevet Binyamin, and she died. The next morning, she was found dead. She was found dead. And the Yidden demanded justice. They demanded the Binyamin should punish the perpetrators. And they refused. And so they went into war. The Yidden went to war with it was a civil war. One of the civil wars then. And this is what the pasuk says, that all the Yidden gathered were considered one. So basically what they're learning from here, anytime Yidden gather in one area together, this makes them a Talmid Chacham. This makes them pure. So they explain different explanations. Again, different explanations why when people gather. A few reasons. Number one, but a lot of people gather the Amaratzim. They don't want to show off the Amaratzim. They don't want to show off that they know nothing. So therefore, they go learn and find and make sure that they know the halachas and make sure that they know they're pure. That's one way of looking at it. The Rambam writes in Moreh Nevuchim. I saw that it's being brought down that he writes there that when it comes to Yontev, the idea of Yontev was to be ma'achet, to connect and make achdus, make them all as one. And if you decide, if this entire issue is only an issue of Chacham, that the Chacham said that Am Haaretz is Tameh and everything is Kelim Tameh, if you decided to keep this division, then what kind of achdus will there be? We'll go up to Yerushalayim and it says, 1 second, I have to make sure you're a Talmid Chacham, you're Am Haaretz, I can use your Kelim. They will come division, discord. So therefore, they decided when it comes to the regel, which is one time that they all gather and all have to be in one place at one time. So we said that at that time they're considered Talmid Chacham. Now the question is, when it comes to Yontif, and the Chacham said that even Am Haaretz can sell his kelim, and Am Haaretz is not considered a tamei on Am Haaretz, how far did that take when it took off this decree? How far did it go? And this is what the next week is going to discuss. HaPesach es chavitoy. So there is a merchant that sells wine, and he has a wine barrel, and there's abundance of people are coming up to the Shalayim for the Yom Tovim, and he breaks the barrel open and he starts selling out of the barrel. Now the problem is that when the people, the customers would come, they would touch the barrel. They came and leaned on the barrel. I want a cup. I want 2 cups. I want a jug. So if Am Haaretz touches a barrel throughout the year, it's a problem. Here, we say this: if someone opened up his barrel of wine to sell, or he starts kneading a dough, and then they would sell pieces of dough, either for matzahs or for food, for the people to eat. And again, this is the dough that actually the germs were very in abundance there. Every customer that would come would touch the dough, feel it, let's see how it's what kind of consistency does it have, and then it would take a piece and say, okay, sell me this piece. What does it weigh? And so, and now we have amalatzim coming to the Besamit, to Yerushalayim as well, and they touch the dough and touch the barrel. So maschem be'sasar agav regel on the back of the yontif, meaning they sell it for the yontif. They open up the barrel for yontif and they are selling it. So what happens now after yontif? Yontif is over, and he still has a half a barrel of wine. After yontif, the moment yontif is over, these amalatzim become tamei again. Now the question is, being that these guys touch the barrel of wine during yontif they're not considered tamei. But right the second that yontif is over, they are tamei. Do we say that wine is tamei milamafreya because they touched the yontif? Okay, so do we say because they touched this barrel of wine on yontif, even though the Chacham said that the Amalz is considered toil on yontif, but it's not fully. They only take off the prohibition, but the idea is still there. They're still tamei, technically still tamei, but we don't consider them tamei. And then right after yontif, it's a problem. So now with the leftovers, what could he do? So Abida says he can sell the leftovers. Why? Because once you open up the barrel, we are scared that if we tell the guy that the rest of the barrel, he can't sell the rest of the barrel, then he won't even open up the barrel to begin with. He won't sell it and people will starve on yontif. So therefore they tell him that this, when they took off this prohibition of, or this decree of the amalatzim becoming tamei, they took it off until it finishes the barrel, until it finishes the dough. Chacham says no. The moment yontif is over, the amalatzim become tamei, and you can't continue to sell. And the Gemara is going to ask, can you now save this barrel of wine for the next yontif? It's an interesting question. Basically, if during yontif the amalatzim are not considered tamei, so wait till the next yontif and then sell it. So here's a question: can you do it or not? The reason for not would be that the barrel, when he opened it up, the barrel itself was toil. When did the amalatzim touch the barrel of wine? In the period of time when the Chacham said that amalatzim are not considered tamei. But the next yontif, the barrel of wine is tamei the entire year because you can't sell the entire year. And you go into yontif, you want to say that the tumah is taken off. I don't know if the Chacham said that. The Chacham said that amalatzim is not tamei, but
Close it.
What?
Close it and put it back.
So what?
Close it, or during yontif when it's finished, and put it back.
What are you going to do with it? Tell me. So the Gemara is going to discuss it, and we'll see next week.